Premiers in Belize City. This is the evening news on Love Television for today, Wednesday, June 29. We've got so much to tell you today, so let's get started with the top stories. Prime Minister Dean Barrow shares figures of the arbitration award pertaining to Belize Telemedia Limited. Belize awaiting conclusion of protocol for traffic on the Sarstoon River. Rebuilding efforts continue on Ambergris Key. COLA gets legal advice to address national matters. Body of woman found in Mahogany Heights. And Statistical Institute releases figures for the first quarter of the year. After almost 7 years of court battles surrounding the takeover of the Belize Telemedia Limited, the government of Belize is now better informed on just how much money they will need to settle and close this matter. Early last month, a preliminary report was published by the Permanent Court of Arbitration in the Netherlands, and from then it was reported that the estimate per share that the Ashcroft Alliance was stating would not be honored. Prime Minister Dean Barrow gave the details of the arbitration award.
Preliminarily, this is what the figures look like. The total number of shares we acquired was 45,199,961. The per share award given by the tribunal is $5.6547 Belize. This is as opposed to the $10.23 Belize that the former owners claimed, so that on the face of it, the difference between that 5.6547 and the 1023 represents a win for the government. Further, of the 5.6547 valuation by the arbitration tribunal, only $2.2674, or 40%, is actually for the shares. So that $3.3873, or 60% of the so-called per share value, is actually compensation for the accommodation agreement. When we subtract the down payment of $65,008,7944 Belize that we had already made on the award, the balance that remains to be paid is, by our calculation, 191 million Belize dollars. A balance of 191 million Belize dollars. Of that, then, fully 114.6 million Belize dollars is for the accommodation agreement, and it is only the rest of that 191 that is for the actual shares acquisition. Now, there is also interest that we will have to pay on that amount of 191 million Belize. The interest is also divided in the portion of 40% attributable to the actual nationalization of the shares and 60% to the accommodation agreement. So it follows the split with respect to the principal.
The figures are pretty steep, as Prime Minister Barrow announced, but according to him, the government is able to pay. He explained how.
The $2.26 Belize, $2.26 Belize, that government paid per share for our acquisition of BTL is a win in any ballpark. Recollect that in 2010, GOB was already able to sell a portion of those same shares for $5 each. And we're even now proposing to sell some more of the shares also at $5 per share. That is more than twice the panel's valuation of what the shares were worth in 2009 when we acquired them. Very simply, we believe we will have no difficulty, especially in view of the excess liquidity in the financial system, getting all the money locally by way of the issue of government paper, bills and notes. And the 40% that has to be converted into US and sent abroad will also be fairly comfortably covered by central bank reserves. Second, please remember that we are currently selling $55 million. I had $60 million here. There's another $5 million, but let me not deal with that for the minute, and let me limit it to $60 million worth of shares that we are selling in BL and BTL. Even after that, there will still be a little more headroom for selling additional shares in BL without, of course, ever breaching the threshold that requires us to maintain, together with SSB, the 51% majority ownership. So even after we sell the shares that we're currently selling in BL, there will be a little more headroom for some additional shares to be sold, and a lot more headroom for selling additional shares in BTL. We anticipate being able to raise at least another 75 million, possibly 100 if we go that way, so that the borrowing for the award would be greatly lessened as a result. But of course, we will need to decide whether it is not preferable to hold on to some of those shares and use the dividends, which we expect, as I said, to be extremely bountiful, use the dividends to service a more expanded GOB borrowing in order to meet the compensation payments.
And while government says they have it within their capacity to pay the award, and while government says that this is a victory for Belize, Prime Minister assured the public that there will be no stagnation of the economy due to the excess liquidity we have in the system. Prime Minister Barrow also made reference to the super bond and the accommodation agreement and how it has put a dent into the economy.
We can't be depriving the business sector, I won't even say productive sector, because there's not a whole lot of lending taking place to the productive sector. But Lord, man, that is why it is a good deal for SSB to buy shares. That is why so many of the institutional members of the financial system, the non-bank, the insurance companies and all these people are in fact dying for some way that they can make an investment and get some returns while satisfying the statutory requirements that they face. So there can be no question at all of us depriving anybody by resorting to the commercial borrowing. Now, the fact that it is more debt is, of course, consequential and something we can talk about. All I would say is this. Were it not for the accommodation agreement, this would have been an absolute breeze. Even with the accommodation agreement, were it not for the super bond, it would still have been a breeze. To the extent that we do have to keep an eye on things in terms of the debt trajectory, in terms of the drawdown on the reserves, I think the crunch is really going to come after there is the step up in the servicing of the super bond and when amortization begins. But we have to take things as we find them, but I think the people of this country must recollect that that is really where the most difficult the most challenging, the most trying of our problems is with respect to the super bond, for which we got nothing. You're talking about what we're paying now, the 390 odd. Look what we get for it. What we don't collect, what we have, it is ours to keep forever, and it is something that it will be a gift to the Belizean people that keeps on giving, as opposed to the super bond. But let me not get on my soapbox.
According to the Financial Secretary, Joseph Waite, the total number of shares acquired is 45,199,961, broken down into two components, with 34,107,117 shares from Dunkel International Investments Limited and 11,092,844 shares from the BTL Employees Trust. The tribunal has valued each share at $5.65, thus making the gross figure $255.5 million Belize dollars. A part payment was done in the sum of $65 million last September, leaving a balance of $190 million to be paid on the shares. As it relates to the interest now, the total is about $388 million, and that does not factor in the legal cost and arbitration cost, which would bring it to $395 million. 40% of that amount is to be paid in U.S. currency, and the remaining 60% in Belize dollars. Waite says there may be some slight adjustments made to the figures due to the currency exchange and other factors. Late this evening, the People's United Party issued a release in which it says it is appalled at and deeply concerned by the final figures with respect to government's acquisition of BTL. According to the PUP, just a preliminary look at the figures reveals that it is even worse than expected. It goes on to say, quote, GOB will have had to pay over $550 million for its appropriation of BTL in 2009, a company that is now not even worth $100 million. More than $500 million to be paid to one man, Lord Ashcroft, is a result of the Prime Minister's arrogance, end of quote. The PUP release continues, saying, within 10 days from June 28, Belizean taxpayers will have to pay almost $200 million, with a balance of another $200 million due within a year. Mr. Barrow now has no option but to pay. That is why he was so hell-bent on turning to SSB, that should be on turning the Social Security Board into a piggy bank. But that is only $55 million. To pay the balance within 10 days, Mr. Barrow will be forced to drain our foreign reserves and to turn to the central bank to print money. The release ends by saying, quote, contrary to what the Prime Minister said, this is not a victory for the government, nor for the people of Belize. The Prime Minister must take blame for his actions, which will be an unbearable burden to the Belizean people. Also in today's press conference, Prime Minister Dean Barrow allowed the issues surrounding the Sarstoon River and the relations between Belize and Guatemala to be discussed. The first question regarding this subject focused on where we are in terms of access to the Sarstoon and our negotiations with Guatemala. Here was the Prime Minister's response.
There is no doubt that progress has been made. We cannot be satisfied until we get that so-called cooperation, Sarstoon cooperation mechanism in writing. And I believe that the efforts to do just that are fully underway. Ambassadors Rosado from our side and Roldan from the Guatemalan side are to take the first stab at reducing what has been discussed to writing with a view to producing this protocol. In the meantime, it was my expectation after the OAS meeting, the last OAS meeting, that Tuesday, was it? When is it? When was it? 21st. My expectation as a consequence of that meeting was that our people would be able to traffic the Sarstoon unimpeded. Now, the Guatemalans have not formally said this, and therefore I have to be careful not to attribute anything to them that is not an official position. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And as far as I know, since that meeting, people have gone, again, well, not Mr. Vasquez, his reporter, without let or hindrance. So I have to consider that progress. Predating the question of civilians going, for a while now, there has been no difficulty in terms of our soldiers going up what we consider to be our side of the Sarstoon to replenish the people and to do the rotation at Cadena. So to repeat, we cannot rest content until we get a commitment in writing, until we get a formal protocol that's agreed and disclosed to all the world. But in terms of what is taking place informally, so far, so good, and I repeat that there has been progress.
We will have more on today's press brief, which was held at the Blaise Biltmore Plaza Hotel, in our newscast tomorrow. Just hours before the Prime Minister's press conference, the Citizens Organized for Liberty Through Action, COLA, held a press brief to discuss a couple issues. President Giovanni Brackett spoke of the Guatemala dispute. He said the decisions being made by government seems aimed at appeasing Guatemala.
We've seen the veracity by the government, who is very eager to change the referendum act to appease Guatemala. And so we are very concerned as it relates to that, and we've asked our attorney to give us an opinion if there's also an injunction of what we can do legally. And it seems right now that legally there's not much that can be done. And at some point the people of Belize will have to rise up and take a position and take a stand. We are being sold out left, right and center. We are compromised, our sovereignty is compromised. The organizations who are there who are supposed to advocate and assist are compromised as well. It's just a really bad situation where we are, but we don't want to give people despair. But the truth is we have to tell the truth.
Attorney Kerry Musa, who is assisting COLA with legal advice, says the Belizean public needs to take a stand now.
The initial opinion is that there isn't much legally that we can do in relation to challenging Mr. Barrow's attempt to change the referendum law to reduce it to a simple majority. I think that pressure will have to come from the Belizean public. I think we have to see that move by this government for what it is. It is an effort to try to accommodate the Guatemalans, to try to ensure that we have a referendum that will match up to their referendum laws. There is no need for that. We have our own laws. They should respect our laws. If it is 60%, it should remain 60%. But again, it is something that the Belizean public will have to bring pressure on this government, that we will not again bow down and bend over for the Guatemalans and to accommodate them in their move to the ICJ.
Musa explained that the Belize public should have been made aware of the decisions being made at the Social Security Board.
The first matter is that as we looked at that judgment, what that judgment is saying, having to be, I don't know the exact figure, but we know it's supposed to be 350 to or over 350 million. If one figure is correct, it could be well over 400 million by the time we finish paying. To me, that judgment clearly annihilate any idea of any profitability of buying shares into BTL. I think that from the minute that government had taken it over, we've seen a decrease in terms of profits from when it was under the Ashcroft Alliance. What we've been saying is that we felt from the very get-go that if the government had been more strategic in taking over BTL, and if they had just settled from the time that they had the time to settle, as you will hear our attorney will explain that the government could have settled this matter a long time ago, rather than dragging this through the mud and dropping it at the mercy of the tribunal. Our attorney will explain that in detail, and it shows that we never stood a chance at winning. So the only persons who benefit out of this fight were the lawyers who are being paid.
Yesterday, Citizens Organized for Liberty Through Action, COLA, spoke to Love News about their concerns as it relates to Belize's economic state, specifically the $55 million shares being bought by the Social Security Board from Belize Telemedia Limited and Belize Electricity Limited. COLA has since then met with Attorney Karim Musa to seek legal advice, as we mentioned earlier. Attorney Karim Musa explains why the matter could have been settled back in 2009, and he also spoke of Section 14 of the tribunal that is of concern to them.
Let us not forget that had Mr. Barrow settled this matter in 2009 when he acquired the company, it would have saved the Belizean people a hell of a lot of money. So now we have to pick up the pieces and we have to cover for Mr. Barrow, having dragged this thing out for a whole 8 years. Not only in the Supreme Court, in the Court of Appeal, the Caribbean Court of Justice, and now finally the tribunal. And what I mentioned to Mr. Brackett and the members of COLA this morning, to me, the thing that stood out most was found at page 14 of the tribunal's decision, because it's something that was revealed in this decision that was not revealed by the Prime Minister. When he went and settled with Michael Ashcroft in September of 2015, what the tribunal considers in its decision at page 14 is the fact that in 2015, the Prime Minister went to Miami, Florida to settle with Mr. Ashcroft. And this again is after 7-8 long years of a legal battle that had no chance of success. And the first clause says the respondent, and the respondent is Belize, the respondent shall withdraw any and all of its objections to the tribunal's jurisdiction and to the merits of the claimant's claims. What that is telling you, again, like I said earlier, the Prime Minister is now in 2015, 7 years later, throwing itself at the mercy of this tribunal and saying, not only do we agree that you have the right to decide the quantum of damages that we are to pay, but we have no objections to the claimant's case, the merits of the claimant's case. We have no objections. We are presenting no legal arguments. We are laying down dead at your mercy, so just tell us what we are to pay. That is the effect of the settlement deed that the Prime Minister signed in 2015.
Musa explained that the Belize public should have been made aware of the decisions being made at the Social Security Board.
The Belizean public has a legitimate expectation that whenever the government or its political cronies are about to spend hard-earned contributions, we're talking here, to the Social Security Board, whenever the Prime Minister or their political cronies are about to spend the hard-earned contributions of our people must have a say. There's a legitimate expectation that our people must have a say in how our hard-earned contributions are going to be invested, and invested in a company that, in my opinion, is going to be obsolete in the next 10 years, that there has been no forensic audit carried out on this company. Let us bear in mind that it has been under government control and with the stewardship of the Prime Minister's son for the last 8 years. We have seen no forensic audit to see if this company is even viable. And yet, SSB and its board is being expected and asked to invest blindly, the people's money, invested blindly in a company that we have seen a decline in profits over the years. So this nonsense now that Doug Singh is going on TV and saying that this is a lucrative investment on behalf of the Belizean people, explain how it is that this company has been losing, man. every year the profits are going down. Explain that to the Belizean people and say to them that that is lucrative.
With the nationalization of Belize Telemedia, Musa spoke on why Lord Michael Ashcroft should have kept ownership of BTL, and he also explained why the Belizean public will now have to pay twice the amount.
Had the Prime Minister not taken this company away from Mr. Ashcroft, Mr. Ashcroft, as head of BTL, would have, in the normal course of business, received his returns from this company, the same way that Anwar Barrow, on behalf of the Belizean people, is receiving returns from this company. So now we're being asked to pay double.
On Monday, a fire destroyed 6 buildings on San Pedro and left a total of 94 persons homeless. But a resilient community has come together to support the fire victims. Since Monday, aid has been provided to the victims in many forms. Belize District Emergency Coordinator Timrose Augustine Cayetano spoke with Love News about the overwhelming support the community has received.
In terms of working together for the fire victims, the community of San Pedro works excellent, no problem there. And for the relief supplies needed, based on what we have been getting, is mostly financial aid and non-perishable food. When it comes to clothing, there is no need for any more clothing. We have government agencies, we also have NGOs on board along with us, doing a very good job so far. The fire victims are being housed at different hotels, and family members and friends.
Cayetano shared that the fire victims have also been receiving emotional support and counseling. Clearing debris from the fire scene today were members from the Scouts Association of Belize. Love News spoke with Field Executive Claudia Grouch.
We just got here this afternoon and we are cleaning. As you can see, the scouts are picking up debris and moving rocks and doing kind of labor work. They're a very tight-knit community, and as soon as a disaster like this happens, San Pedranas is like they come out and they give all their love and support and food. And I understand that some of the survivors of the fire are at some hotels and they've been provided food, shelter, clothing, and I think it is a wonderful thing that we come as a human resources, pull together and try to help other people.
The Belize District Emergency Coordinator stated that the main necessities at this moment are financial aid and non-perishable foods. They also wish to thank all businesses and individuals who have assisted so far. As mentioned, a number of organizations has been assisting the fire victims. The police department in Belmopan and the surrounding communities worked together and donated food to the 88 victims of the fire. Today, the officer in command, Senior Superintendent Howell Gillett, spoke to Love News about those efforts.
Well, we've heard about the plight of the people from San Pedro as it relates to the fire that recently occurred, and we decided that we had to do something to help them. So we've gathered the support from our communities, from the different business community in our area, and we have almost $500 worth of food supplies, including the staple foods and canned stuff, along with noodles and cereal, things that they could use readily.
Senior Superintendent Gillett says anyone could have been a victim in a similar situation.
This is an effort of the Belmopan Police under my command. You know, we've been out there ever since the tragic incident took place over the weekend. We've been out there to the community. Because this time it happened, unfortunately, it happened to San Pedro, but it could as well happen in any other area, including Belmopan. So we want to show that we do care about members of the public, regardless of where they're from. Because it could happen to Belmopan or any other areas. We would want it to happen, but things do happen at times.
The Emergency Operations Committee EOC activated by NEMO San Pedro would like to emphasize and advise that all financial aid for the San Pedro fire victims is officially being channeled through the San Pedro Lions Club Fire Relief Fund and the San Pedro branch of the Belize Red Cross. Neighbors, relatives, and police investigators are tonight trying to put the pieces together as to how a 17-year-old girl ended up in a ditch in the Mahogany Heights residential community, bearing over 10 stab wounds. Love News was alerted minutes after the body was found, and upon reaching the scene, we found police officers canvassing the area. Inspector Rochelle Chan heads the Hattieville Police Station, and he spoke with us and gave us the preliminary findings.
What occurred this morning is that the police was alerted by a concerned citizen that they saw what appeared to be a human body. He responded to the scene here in Mahogany Heights, where he discovered a female halfly undressed and apparently with multiple stab wounds. The female has not been identified. What we can see is that the subject in question suffered multiple stab wounds all over her body. We are presently processing the scene. I cannot speculate as to what has transpired or what has occurred. However, more information will be forwarded to you guys. Indications may be that the body might have been brought to the scene here. It appears that it might have happened during the course of the night to this morning.
The young girl has since been identified as 17-year-old Jasmine Palacio. Jasmine was a resident of the area and was an avid participant in the Mahogany Heights marching band. Love News spoke with Edna Mae Garbett, who heads the marching band. She told us about Jasmine, her passion, and her bold personality.
Saw her day before yesterday, but yesterday my daughter said she was here. Well, I was in my bed, so I don't know, but she said she was here yesterday.
That would be for practice, band practice?
Yeah, well, not really band practice. The band will have 5 years, the 13th of July, on my birthday, so I've called them, I speak to them, and let us have a family time with their family, their parents, so when they act, different things, singing, and they say okay, and they start to do their preparation. Oh my God, she's an outspoken person. Whatever she want to do, she want to get it done. You can't keep she down. She want to do what she want to do, but you get it done right. A lot about her though. Sweet person. Everybody have a bad part of them, but she's a sweet person. Very sweet person. At least to me, the band, everybody know the band. And to the neighbors who know her. I always talk with Jasmine because Jasmine, I don't know, she just one like this. If you do, you and her a friend, and you get no problem, she went with you. And she because she's not present, like nobody chance, nobody. That's how she stand.
Garbett says Palacio never told her of any recent or immediate threats she was facing, but Love News found out that there was a shooting at the victim's home some months ago.
So I don't think I want not move with it ban after this. I think I done it ban. Honestly, I hurt bad. Honestly, she had my head, man, it hurt. It hurt.
Oh, she was the head of
Yes, ma'am. She is my head, she hurt. Banfest, she went out, we tear up Banfest. So I think this is it for me. I don't know. I'm trying, but I can't do no more. I can't go no more.
When you said she was the head, what?
Well, she's head leader for dancing, she's assistant for coordinating, everything. Anything you put, she good in, anything. Right now, when you call, you say, I say, I have a poem right for you. I say, I want to make you cry. I say, baby, you can't make me cry. Nobody make I cry. Say, yes, now you want to cry about the band and about you.
And she ever shared the poem?
No, Kai said, don't want me to hear it until the night. And that was it. That was day for yesterday.
And the show would have been when?
The show would have been the 13th of July, next 2 weeks on my birthday. That's 5 years the band going to have.
So that was the last conversation you had with her?
The same, when they come and we sit down, they practice their dancing right in here because we don't know nobody to see what they was doing. And then she sing one song. Then they say somebody that she might rap and then tell about the poem. And that was the last time. I said, okay, I'm going to go home now, you get later. And then we were like 5:30 minutes or 6 and I got home. That was it. I never did say yesterday, honestly. I heard them in the house yesterday, but I did people that was sleeping. I feel too good. Never knew this man coming. He hard, honestly hard. Honestly hard, very hard. I wish you'd do it, they find though. And it's fine, honestly. I wish you'd do it, they find him. Because, it's rough.
Garbett says she is discouraged following this incident and is thinking of breaking up the Mahogany Heights marching band. A man is recovering from gunshot wounds he sustained in an incident last night. The The shooting took place at around 8 o'clock near the entrance of the Crooked Tree village on the Philip Goldson Highway. Assistant Superintendent of Police Edward Broster spoke of the preliminary findings in the investigation, as well as the detention of 2 persons believed to be involved in human trafficking.
Last evening we had a shooting at the Crooked Tree Junction where one Stephen Palacio from number 15 Raccoon Street received 5 pellet wounds from a blast of a shotgun. He was rescued by a vendor who transported him to the Orange Walk Hospital where he was treated. According to Mr. Palacio, he saw some individual catching crab when he was shot. We don't have any further details at this time. We'll be interviewing Mr. Palacio sometime later today. This happened just before 8 o'clock last night. Also, last evening at about 8 o'clock, we intercepted one gray van from Kaya district that had in 18 Salvadorians and 2 Belizeans who were transporting them north. This interception happened at between Ladyville and Gardena. We have managed to confiscate the van and arrested the 2 coyotes who were taking the Salvadorians to the north.
The Rotary Club of Belize introduced another branch today. This one is in Ambergers Caye. President of the Ambergers Caye chapter, Don Locasio, spoke with Love News about the importance of having their own club on the island.
The history of Rotary and the gift is, there are no words to explain it. It's what we can give back to this community is endless, and I know the group that we've put together here on the island will do amazing things. I would love to invite everyone from Belize to check out a Rotary Club, to get involved, to understand what service above self means, and if you live in San Pedro, please come to a meeting on Wednesdays, and we'd love to explore membership with you. Our meetings are at Banyan Bay at 11:45 every Wednesday.
The club was started back in May and has already been working in the community. Locasio spoke about the work that the club has been doing so far.
We have brought wheelchairs to needy individuals. We've conducted a school cleanup and painted some of the building. We've also conducted a book drive and assisted the library, several schools, and friends in Kikaker. We are focused on strengthening future generations through our service in the community. Worldwide, there are millions and millions of people who are helped by Rotary efforts every year. I know that we can touch a huge part of this population here in San Pedro.
Inaugurating the chapter on the island was Governor of the Rotary District 4250, Dr. Rene Villanueva Sr. He spoke about the Rotary Club in Ambergers Caye as well as the Rotary efforts done around the world.
Rotary will now be able to serve San Pedro through the Rotary Club of Ambergers Caye, which is a club we just started today. Rotary, as you know, is dedicated to serving others, service above self. I'm very impressed with the San Pedro Ambergers Caye Club. It's a new club, only being chartered today, but they are already up and running. For example, they're very active at this point in time in helping the fire victims here on La Isla Bonita. And I'm sure that through this club, a lot of aid will be coming in to San Pedro to assist those in need. So all over the world, you see Rotary inaugurating water systems, building clinics, building hospital, giving hospital equipment, wheelchairs. It's so much, it's hard to building new bathrooms for facilities for schools, computers, donating computers. It's a wide range of service to others.
As it relates to the relief efforts for the fire victims on the island, Locascio spoke of what the Rotary Club there is doing.
Immediately, Rotarians got to work, put on their Rotarians at Work shirts and went to help with the cleanup. Dee Regis, who is our incoming president, has been working with the task force that has been set up, and she will be able to guide us. We're receiving quite an impouring from clubs throughout Belize and also internationally, asking how they can help, and we'll have that information for them later today.
Ambergris Key Rotary Club is the 10th chapter of the Belize Rotary Club. Today, the annual Social Security Ride Across Belize began. The initiative was orchestrated in 2004 by employees of SSB. The race started in Corozal today and will end later this week in Punta Gorda. Coordinator Chandra Nisbet Cancino spoke about the objectives of this event.
We have Corozal and PG recording the highest inflation rate for the month of May at 2%, followed by Orange Walk at 1.5%. Then we have Belmopan at 0.9%, Belize City at 0.7%, and San Ignacio and Danrigal both at 0.4%. The diagram in front of us is going to show us how, even though
this morning, the Belize Water Services presented 2 donations, one to Restore Belize and another to the National Sports Council to assist with the upcoming Kadikader Games. Chairman of BWS Alberto August spoke about the donation.
The activities help us to fulfill, as our mission statement says, to fulfill our social responsibility as a corporate citizen of Belize. So we look forward to continue working with both Restore Belize through the I Am Belize Scholarship Program and the National Sports Council for the further development of that most important resources of this nation, the young people and the possible future leaders of this country.
Restore Belize has been assisting youths in vulnerable situations for many years. Senior Program Officer Roger Bradley says it is a slow but progressive work. He shared the successful impacts Restore Belize has had on the youth.
The aim of the program is to enable these children to not be stressing out about how fees will be paid, how expenses will be covered. We want them just to focus on studying. And third, to improve community participation and leadership among our youth through this experience in through this experience in attaining their secondary education. The program over the year, last year has had a success rate of 80%, with 31 of 37 students completing their education, and they came from 10 schools. In terms of graduation over the last 3 years, 41 students have graduated, and at the end of last year we had an impressive 19 of 20 students graduating. This year another 13 of 16 students graduated. We at Restore Belize want to sincerely thank the Belize Water Services Limited for this generous donation.
National Sports Council Director Richelle Dominguez spoke on the vision of the council when it comes to sports and children.
I am proud to say that we have formed committees in each and every district, and they have been working tirelessly, and that is why we ask you all to BWS to come on board and to partner with us. And it gives me great pleasure to know that companies are still looking out for sports, because I can say, taking over sports, that sports has been dormant in Belize. And we as parents has, I don't say lost the appreciation of sports, but we have somewhat been laid back in what we do when it comes to sports. I have looked at different ways in trying to motivate Belize in getting sports active again, because we have, looking at sports, in every 5 students, if 3 does sports, they are usually successful in school. So if someone matches with education and sports goes a long way.
Belize Water Services donated $10,000 to restore Belize for a 4-year period and $5,000 to the National Sports Council as a one-time donation. Today, the police of the Belmopan precinct made a bust of illegal goods in a home in the Valley of Peace area in the Cayo district. Senior Superintendent Howell Gillett spoke to Love News about the bust and the penalties that these persons will face for carrying contraband goods.
We did an operation in the Valley of Peace area and we confiscated, I think, 6 cases of contraband beers and 2 cases of contraband juice. So we've alerted customs as we've always done, and they have now taken over the case. I believe as in previous cases, the person responsible will be charged 3 times the value of the confiscated goods. So we continue to engage the community very highly, and you know as well as others that we have a good community relationship, police-community relationship, and we continues to bear fruit. I don't want to go any further than that.
Senior Superintendent Gillett says their community policing efforts continue to help them fight crime in the area. This morning, the Statistical Institute of Belize released its latest figures as it relates to Consumer Price Index, external trade, gross domestic products, and the labor force. Presentations began with the Consumer Price Index by statistician 1, Angelita Campbell, who said on average prices were 1% higher in the month of May 2016 when compared to last year May, and in the first 5 months an inflation rate of 0.4% was recorded.
We have Corazol and PG recording the highest inflation rate for the month of May at 2%, followed by Orange Walk at 1.5%. Then we have Belmopan at 0.9%, Belize City at 0.7%, and San Ignacio and Dangrigal both at 0.4%. The diagram in front of us is going to show us how, even though we have the all item category, for each area, the index may be above or below the all items category. For instance, we have Corazol actually above the all item. This is to demonstrate that the all item is just based on an average of all the municipalities. All 7 municipalities feed straight into the all item category. Followed by we have Orange Walk. Orange Walk sort of below the index itself. Then we have San Ignacio that depicts below the all item index. And all other areas pretty much the same.
Statistician 2, Tiffany Vasquez, spoke of the external trade. Vasquez says imported goods valued $175.3 million, representing an 8.2% or $13.3 million increase over the same period last year.
For the period January to May of this year, Belize's imports were valued at $806.9 million. This represents a marginal 0.3% or a $2.3 million decrease from the same period last year. Such a negligible decrease was the result of large contrasting changes among 5 main categories: imports of minerals, mineral fuels and lubricants, and goods destined for the export processing zones and commercial free zones saw the greatest decline over the period, only to be offset by rising imports of food and live animals and machinery and transport equipment. The mineral fuels and lubricants category fell by $34 million, despite an upward turn in world market prices, as fuel prices remain lower than it was a year ago. Further, while a steep drop in shrimp feed imports led to a $21 million decline in EPZ imports, reduced purchases of cigarettes drove the commercial free zone category down by $16 million. In contrast, overall increased imports of food items, particularly corn and wheat seed was the cause of a $14 million growth in the food and live animals category, while a significant spike in imports of telecommunications equipment resulted in a $56 million increase in the machinery and transport equipment. All major exports, with the exception of sugar, fell in the period January to May of 2016 when compared with the same period in 2015, and hence is the cause of the 19.9% drop in export earnings. While citrus receipts fell by $5.7 million owing to reduced orange concentrate sales, gains from crude petroleum dropped by $11.2 million, due largely to lower world market prices for that commodity. With the exit of one banana farm and unfavorable weather conditions, banana exports declined by $14.2 million, whilst descending shrimp sales led to a $26.1 million drop in marine exports. Sugar amassed a 28% or $13.3 million growth in export earnings over the period. However, that required a 70% upsurge in exported volume, indicating a reduction in fetched prices on the European market.
As for gross domestic product, statistician 1 Jeffty Ochayeta explained a decrease of 2% in the overall level of production when compared to last year.
Belize produced goods and services totaling $718.4 million in the period of January to March of 2016, which is a decrease of $14.7 million from the same period in 2015. If we are going to represent that in percentages, that's a 2% decrease. So we had a drop in production of 2%. So this graph here can show you the series of how throughout the years, the first quarter, we would have a positive growth in, We have a positive growth starting from 2011, 2014, and we have a minimal decrease in 2014, mainly due to, I think that was late sugar or something like that. And then we've had increases throughout the year, and then again we have a decrease in the growth rate. What affected or what contributed to the growth rate or the negative growth rate in the economy? Basically, we find these three factors here: manufacturing, fishing, and agriculture, hunting and forestry, were the main industries or the main sectors in the economy that contributed negatively. That's why we have a negative growth.
The final presentation was on labor force survey by statistician Kerwin Authors, who says there is a decline in unemployment rate at 2%. A copy of the report is available on SIB's website and on its Facebook page. Our thought conditioner for today comes from Abraham Lincoln. It reads, quote, "You can have anything you want if you want it badly enough. You can be anything you want to be. Do anything you set out to accomplish if you hold to that desire with singleness of purpose." End of quote. This has been the Evening News on Love Television. With your news, good evening. I am Renee Trujillo.